Hello everyone, welcome back to Rule the Roost podcast. It's a bit of a sombre one today, isn't it, Lara? How you doing, mate? Welcome back.
It is. I think last time I said I was depressed. I think
it was an existential crisis, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it's got worse. I think, if to quote Mark Corrigan, I have entered the abyss now. It's just, I don't know. We're in a mess, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. I mean, you can tell we're in such a mess because this is one of those kind of pods where I thought I actually need to have a bit of structure to this. I need to have something of a running order. Yeah. And you've seen it, you can see it's still a bit of a mess, but this for me is organised. Ooh, aren't I quirky? But still. Because
same, I could just waffle around this for hours and talk myself in circles.
Because there's so much going on, isn't there? Right?
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
So many, because the thing is, watching that game, I mean, this is my immediate thing, like, as I was sort of saying to you before, like, sat in the ground, nobody around me having fun. Like, you're supposed to have the whole, like, go to the football, it's great. Like, everyone in the pub's miserable. Everyone in the stadium, miserable. First 20 minutes or so, we were up for it. We were told, we were given that rallying cry from the club. Coity did all that before the sort of, before kick-off. You got the big ball in the centre circle, the music, and everyone's like, come on, Tottenham. And then we're treated to that tepid Bill from the back, sideways passing, just predictable dross. We're a goal down, and we're inviting them onto us. I just, so in that moment, I'm like, well, this is on Conte or that's on the players. But then, well, is that not coming down from Levy? Is that not the people around Levy? Is that not Paratici? Is that not Donna Cullen? These kind of like, figures that make up all these different pieces that make up the club. So I guess the best thing we can do is kind of try to go through this kind of in stages. So what I would say to you is, like, first of all, just on the game itself, how did you reflect? How are you enjoy? I can't even say how were you enjoying that. Like, do you know what were your main thoughts? What was going through your head as you were watching that?
Just why are we playing like we're the team that's 1-0 up?
Yeah.
It's that. Where's the urgency? I think. I'll hold my hands up. I didn't go to the game. I watched it on TV, and Crouchy and Hoddle in the studio, Rio Ferdinand, I thought they were all spot on. They said that we've given the fans nothing. We're playing like we're the team that's winning, and you could see it sucked the life out of the atmosphere. The fans sounded great at the beginning. You could see as it went on, it just got quieter and quieter, and it's like where's the urgency? We did look up for it. I mean, Milan were really not all that either. I mean, they barely looked like scoring over the kind of two legs, really. I mean, they had chances, but they're terrible at finishing, which was lucky for us, really. But, we could easily, if we'd had a proper go, we could easily have got through and we just didn't seem to try. It was...
That's the maddening thing, right? It is that, because that's what... I was like bawling at them, and people around me were like shouting. Was just like, where is the urgency? You'd see it so many times. Like Milan would have an attack, and they've brought players forwards because it might be cliche, but that's what you can always expect from an Italian team. Like, they are always going to be organised. They attack and defend in these type kind of like patterned ways, right? Which, as we saw on this occasion, can be very frustrating when you can't break it down. But then other times it can just, you can just exploit that. We've seen this, we've done this. But just in this game, you'd see it so many times when Milan would have an attack. The ball would come sort of fairly meekly. Fraser Forster would pick up the ball. And whether it's him as an individual or whether it's what he's been instructed to do, you'd just see him hold on to the ball for ages. So he'd never release it quickly. He'd never just boot it up the pitch. You'd see Kane up the top. You'd see Sonny up the top. Both calling for the ball. You'd even see Kulusevski up there. All calling for it. No, what do? We roll it out to Longley, Davis or Romero, who pass it between themselves. Mm-hmm. AC closes down, and we're playing ourselves into trouble immediately. They contained us. The mad thing is, for large parts of the game, they contained us even within like a half of our own half. Even around our box. Like you were saying, you sort of sat there watching this thinking, we are 1-0 down. Like, we're chasing the game here.
Yeah.
What we did with this whole second half approach stuff, this is the second half, like, lads. Like, this
Yeah.
is the second half, you know? What are
Yeah.
we doing?
It's the same story every game, isn't it? It's like, this isn't... I think that's the thing. This was a one-off performance, but it's not. It's every game. It's the same approach. You know, the slow passing out from the back, and you know, by the time we get it up to our front players, their entire team is back in the box. It's just, oh yeah, I'm not enjoying it at all.
The only time it seemed to change a little bit was when we brought Porro on. Like, he kind of, for that first kind of, like, I guess 10 minutes of him being on, we suddenly had a bit more of it. I think I would, off the top of my head, he came on around 65th minute or so. I think that's what I'd say. And I'd say for the next like 5 to 10 minutes, we suddenly looked to have him on the back foot a bit. He really brought something to the game. But then you could see as the game went on, even he kind of shrunk slightly. And I don't even think I don't think that's on him. I just think he kept making these runs, getting into these positions. There's just not one there for him to get the ball to. Like, Harry, love him as we all do, he gets frustrated in these games and he ends up in midfield trying to make something happen. But as soon as we took Kulusevski off, that seemed to be it. And I wanted to ask you about this, like the Kulusevski sub. Because obviously it was booed, it was roundly booed. People were not happy at all with that sub. On reflection, were we just being too emotional? Do you think really we just had Romero sent off, and we will talk about his sending off. But he's just been sent off. Did he need to be replaced, or do you think that it's in those moments where, you know, with 10 minutes to go, we're chasing the game, and you're taking off one of, if maybe our only creative player on the pitch in Kulusevski?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I completely understand why people booed it. That was your Nuno Mora moment, wasn't it, really? It's just baffling. Like, you know, to talk about being risk averse. I get it. You know, Romero's been sent off. Do we bring on another? We're chasing the game. What's the worst that's going to happen? We lose 2-0, 3-0 instead of 1-0. Either way, the result's the same. So, I mean, just try something. Have a bit of, like, it's all so cautious, and it's not Tottenham, is it? Let's be honest. I know that people, you know, mock our whole Tadarius to do thing and all of that, but, you know, look at the teams of the past, look at, you know, the Redknapp teams, the old teams, even back to like Ozzy Ardiles teams back in the 90s, and our approach is always, well, we'll have a go. We might lose 5-3, but, you know, we'll have a go at it. And this was just like, oh, well, no, we'll sit on the 1-0. Why? There's no benefit to that. It's not like we're in a league with goal difference or whatever. I don't understand it. I feel like everything Conte does at the moment feels like he's trying to make some sort of subversive point towards the board or the fans or whatever, and I've just had enough of it, to be honest. Don't be stuck in the middle of his game.
Well, this is it, because I kind of am getting to that point now where I'm like, is this just now? Are we allowing this guy to just preserve his own reputation now? You know, is it because you're sort of saying, it doesn't really matter? Losing 1-0 to AC Milan, and he gets to come out afterwards, and I will talk about this, but he gets to come out afterwards and talk about the history of our club versus AC Milan. All these kind of like pithy, again, side-eye sort of put-downs to our club, which he's done consistently. And I do appreciate, like, you know, I've been sort of told a couple of times on here that, you know, English is his second language, right?
I think it's more than the language barrier at this point. Well, it's been too much, hasn't there?
You know, it's happened consistently, time and time and time again, where we have this kind of just this negging type effect from him, where he just constantly wants to say, don't expect too much, I can't work wonders with this. But you've been given £200 million, mate. You've got statistically the best Premier League attacking duo in history, you know,
which you've managed to make shit, by the way. Well done.
You know, it's just it's bonkers to me, and I can't help but escape from the thought now that when we are looking at it as like, is it kind of worse to lose 1-0 or 2-0? To him, he's thinking, well, yeah, I want to at least show an Italian side, because that's where he's going to end up again. Let's be honest. Probably even AC. That's one of the things that's been kind of mooted, and it seems so strange that we've allowed ourselves to get into a position where we're even talking about this, right? Where we're talking about our fears that the guy who is handsomely paid to manage our football club has got one eye on his next job and is putting this club down, and is, you know, we can talk about Richarlison now, who's driven a player like Richarlison, who we were all excited about signing. Okay, there might have been one or two dissenting voices, but for the most part, you know, he had the ability, he had the drive, he had the vibes, as everyone likes to say. You know, there was enough there to suggest that he could be, you know, one of our lads, and he's on the verge of tears in a press in the press mix zone, saying it's been a shit season, just saying what everyone else is thinking. But when this stuff starts, when players start speaking in this like loose fashion, when it starts coming out like this, you know things aren't right. Like, and again, I say, you know, the guy wasn't going to sign a contract in January. We knew it was coming to an end at the end of the season. I'm not saying anything new here. I'm not reinventing the wheel by saying this, but it just is mad to think that that wasn't the point where the ownership of the club said, you sign a contract or you go. And then from January, we can bring in somebody new, give them players that they want to build the team in their image, and we go into next season kind of with some renewed confidence.
Well, that's the Tottenham board for you, isn't it? We're not decisive. We faff about with everything, and I know we're going to come on to that. So, obviously, get into that a bit more later. But it's that constant, again, dragging of the feet. Oh, we'll wait and see. It's not serving us well at the moment, and it just feels like we're stuck in some sort of horrible limbo. It's it just very, very depressing. I get Richarlison's point completely. I'll be on. I mean, I really like Richarlison. I don't know whether he was a Conte signing or not. I don't know if Conte wanted him. I do see the point people make of why did we spend 60 million on a striker when we need centre back, all these other positions, new goalkeeper. Well, let's be honest, we've got gaps everywhere that we need to fill. And actually, you know, if he was available, he's not a bad addition to the squad, let's be honest. I like his attitude. He's a hard worker. I think he's, you know, channels the spirit of Lamella a little bit, which I'll be honest, I was always a bit of a Lamella fan. Just loved a bit of the hate, and I think Richarlison's got a bit of that. You know, he'll get things like the rivalries, he'll get up for games, he, you know, does those little niggles, gets into players, winds them up. And we've seen what he can do. It's like Son. He hasn't turned into a shit player overnight. Look at what he did at the World Cup, and I know he's had injuries since then, and that won't have helped. But, you know, he's not been given a fair run in the team, and half the time when he has been played, he's been played out of position. And I can see his frustration, because if you were him and you've come from Everton and you think, well, I was the main man there and I was playing every week and they loved me, and I've come here and I'm basically getting mugged off. But I feel like that's 90% of our signings since Conte's been here. I can't work out which of them he actually seems to have wanted.
Well, look, I mean, I was tweeting about this the other day. You think about, in Richarlison and Basuma, outside of the top six, they have been, for the past 2 years, two of the most exciting players in the Premier League, right? Two of the most sort of coveted by teams, with all due respect, above the level of Everton and Brighton, respectively. In Jed Spence, we've had one of the best, well, the best right wing back in the Championship, but one of the best players in the Championship, one of the best young players in the country, arguably. We signed him, and all three of those players, they haven't just kind of like, they've been all right. They've all had a dismal Tottenham career so far, and they've all had the similar sort of treatment, which seems to be random little appearances here and there. I mean, Jed Spence, barely even that, but random little pieces of appearance here and there. And you're just sort of wondering, what are we playing at here? What is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what is... Because it's just... And we're seeing it now with Dan Juma, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we were trying to get rid of Lucas Moura in January, and we signed Dan Juma, and where is he? Like, I bet the guy's really regretting the decision to join us instead of Everton now, right?
Well, this is the thing. You look at all three of the players that you just mentioned, you can't honestly say that any of them have been better off coming here than they would have been staying with their previous. I feel really sorry for all of them. I think, you know, they've all been just sold a sausage, really, haven't they? But again, then we've got all this whinging about, like, oh, we haven't got the players. It's like, we've bought players and you're not playing them. And yeah, the Danjuma thing's another one. I'm like, well, why are we signing these players? Like, I don't. It's I'm just so frustrated with all of it. It's like he's just determined to play the same players week in, week out, getting the same results. Just try something. You're paid £15 million to be a football manager. Coach, like, try something different. It's just, yeah, we've got to stop with the checkbook ego managers. It's not the right fit for us.
Because we had that one run, didn't we? We had that run at the end of last season where you're like, this looks great. Like, this is suddenly, wow, it's clicked. Kulusevski and Bentancur have come in. They've really upped us another level. And then the start of this season, it seems to be much the same. You know, we smashed Southampton. And then all of a sudden, he just starts dropping Kulusevski, you know? He chooses not to play him. And he starts getting frustrated. We wonder what's going on there. And that's just kind of painted the picture of pretty much the entire season. I mean, there's a lot of talk about, like, when we've played well this year and when we haven't. West Ham, undeniably. Man City, undeniably. Chelsea was a good result, but I think, honestly, I hate to take it away from the lads, but I think really that was more about Chelsea just being pretty abject than...
Yeah, they weren't great.
Spurs being particular. I mean, we were good, but we weren't amazing. You know, we weren't beating Arsenal 3-0 amazing like we were last season, you know? And it feels like everything right now is, like, enveloped with, like, this kind of black cloud, you know, just it's just this misery hanging over the club. But if we're to take, I mean, if we are to sort of say, all right, what's Conte, you know, look at what Conte is dealing with here, though, right? You look at a prime example of that is somebody like Christian Romero, right? One of the best players, an invaluable member of our team, our best defender, who still... I mean, that
getting
tackle,
sent off.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I love him, right? And
yeah, I do as well.
I do like when he leaves one on an opposition player. There is something of a throwback in that, and I do think it kind of... We've been wanting a sort of a bit of a fight from Tottenham for a good few years now, and he gives us that. But there are times when I can't help but feel like in that game that Theo Hernandez was... You can see what type of player he is. He's a shithouse. He's an arsehole. You can see he was winding our team up. He was winding our team up in the first leg, and he was doing it again on that evening, wasting time, going down. You know, he nasty little tackles here and there that the refs really did not have a handle on. No. But Romero, it just felt like in that moment, already carrying a yellow card, he saw the red mist, you know. He wanted to leave one on him in a stupid point, and that we all knew the game was over from that point, right? It was done.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You wonder whether, you know, some of this is just Romero being stupid, but some of it you think is probably he's probably frustrated as well. You get to a point where you think, are we doing anything in this game? He's probably getting wound up, and that's the result. And I suppose that's where you... But that's the thing, is like, being honest, Romero is probably our only really decent centre back. You know, if he had like a Toby or somebody playing alongside him, someone who's a bit calmer, has equal ability to him, it might temper it out a little bit. But it's that thing where, again, it's like if Romero doesn't play, we look shit. But if Romero plays, there is always the danger he's going to get sent off and miss games. And then he doesn't play, and then we're shit. So it's like that cycle, isn't it? Yeah. But we're too reliant on one player in that area, and you can see the difference when he doesn't play. It's the same way, you know, we're really missing Bentancur. That was, you know, that's just awful what's happened to him. That's just typical Tottenham luck, really, isn't it? But again, it's it really shows up where we've got no one to bring in that can do what he does.
And is this okay? Right, we've had years of squad neglect from Daniel Levy and whoever was sort of what was his name? I hate my job.
Steve Hitchin.
Steve, good God, yeah, Steve Hitchin.
Hates the transfer window.
That's your one job, mate. You know?
Exactly. Honestly, couldn't make it up.
And that's the image you're projecting to the world, you know, to the wider world.
Yeah.
And you know, is this all right? Okay, so the appointments come from Levy at the top, but still, you know, Paratici now is supposed to be this shit hot the Don Paratici. But that's what he delivered. He didn't get Bastoni, fair enough. It seems like we did make a real effort to get him. But then the fallback was Clement Longley, who, look, you know, just clearly is not that good. You know, like, and it's just that's their job. I don't quite get, like, I think this is the thing that's frustrating. The thing that is so frustrating about Tottenham is, like, there's just so much going on, right, that you're just kind of like, huh? You know, like, I just don't, like, we've known for years. For, let's say, I would honestly say we've known since 2019. We've known since that Champions League season when Jan and Toby were just on their way out, right?
Yeah.
We've known from that point we need to invest big in our defence now. Walker's gone.
Yeah.
Danny Rose is on his way out. The Tongan's on his way out. Alderweireld is on his way out. We need to invest big in that defence. We just haven't. We just haven't at all. And then this summer we're, you know, fine, you know, great player, and I like having him on board. But we're signing Richarlison, we're signing Basuma again. You know, good signings, but also, like, that shouldn't be it. Like, that they weren't the priority. You know, like,
especially not for a defensive coach.
Right.
This is the thing. And I was saying this on Twitter. It was like, I'm so pissed off, and I don't know where to direct my anger at first, because it's obviously the problem stems from the top, and it stems from the board, and I really am done with them now. I mean, I've been really patient with them for years. I've always been really balanced on Levy, and I still stand by everything I've said about what he's done for the infrastructure of the club, you know, what he's done to elevate the status of our club. But I really do think, you know, can you just go now, please? Because you've done a great job. Just take the money now and please go, and please put the club in the hands of somebody who wants to concentrate on the football side, because we're not a stadium company, we're not a hotel company, we're not a local infrastructure company. It's, you know, these are great bonuses and they're good ways to make money, but it's just, when does the focus go back to the football team, please? And even when he does focus on football, he seems to get it wrong. So, you know, that we know there are problems there. But, you know, Conte's definitely got to take some of the blame himself. He's not blameless. Paratici, likewise. There's so many places to be annoyed. It's like, I don't know where to direct my anger first. And it's like, you'll put out a tweet saying something about Conte, and your mentions are full of people going, it's not Conte, it's Levy, da da da. You put out something about Levy, oh, well, Levy's back Conte, it's Conte's fault. I'm really pissed off with both of them. Like, I'm not saying the other one is blameless. But together, it's putting us in this horrible situation where there is literally there's no positivity anywhere to focus on. Nowhere. Like, even look at the players, and they all look dejected. And you think, poor Harry, who, like, you know, you look at him and you just think, oh, I want it. You know, I want him to stay. I love him. I'll never love another player like I love Harry Kane. But at this point, if you're Kane, you'd be sitting looking around like we are, going, where the hell are we going here? So you look to that and you think, well, we're probably going to lose him.
Almost.
We don't know who our manager's going to be. Levy's going to continue faffing about with whatever he's faffing about with. We don't know whether our bloody director of football is about to be banned anyway. So all this, you know, him putting together the shortlist for the next manager, is he even going to be here? It's just so much uncertainty everywhere. There's nothing solid to focus on at the moment. That's why everybody's just getting themselves, me included, in a big old tiz about it. And Jermaine Genius was the same. Like, another thing I was saying on Twitter, I was like, God, I really wish he would just shut up, because he sounded like a Tottenham fan at the end of that game. He was on one about, well, Kane's going to leave, and why would you want to stay here, and look at the state of this club. And I was like, you sound like a catastrophising Spurs fan, and as a catastrophising Spurs fan myself, you are not making me feel better. It's just a spiral of shit at the moment, isn't it?
It's just, I don't know, mate. It's like you say. It's the bang on point is that you find it hard to know, because I get these moments where I think like, oh well, maybe Richarlison will look good under Pochettino. Maybe he can be like his Dele. Yeah. He can be like his new Dele, and Porro will hopefully look good, and we've got Destiny Udogie coming in. But then I'm like, Pochettino isn't definitely going to be our new manager, and there's no guarantee that'll work out, and we will still have the same kind of hierarchy in place at the club that has seen him kind of not be backed when it mattered the last time around. I'm hoping that the club have kind of changed the way they operate a little bit in that time, but it's very tough.
There doesn't seem to be any, a broken record, but there doesn't seem to be any strategy at Spurs. It's all knee jerk and like, oh, this isn't working. Oh, let's do this. Oh, this isn't working. Let's do this. It doesn't seem like there's any expertise or proper planning behind it. It's all just, and the last few appointments have just, to me, been Levy saving his bacon. Like, full well, the silence around the club at the moment, full well that Daniel and Donna are sitting there behind the scenes going, well, what can we do to kind of minimise the press on this? And, what can we do to come out of this looking good? And it's, you just think a lot of the time it's not about there's too many egos, and it's all about them, and it's not about the club. And I think that's where the kind of clamouring for Pochettino to come back comes from, because we just feel like everybody surrounding the club, Conte, we've had it almost, well, if you take Nuno out of the equation, you've had 2 managers in a row that have basically moped around the place, looking miserable as sin, throwing shade at the club in every interview, going, oh, aren't you lucky that I'm here because I'm so great and you're so shit? Oh, and, don't be thinking I'm going to win anything because look at the state of your club. Serving up utter rubbish football and making out like we're supposed to be grateful that they're there and they're doing us a massive favour. It's like being in an abusive relationship. He's sitting there just being told how shit you are all the time. And you think, with Poch, what we had is somebody who really, he loved the club. Poch is an emotional man. You can see that. I think that is part of why things went badly actually after the Champions League final. I think he just is a very emotional person. He took it very badly, and I think he struggled to come back from it. But he really loved the club. He loved the club. He had a connection with us. He had a respectful working relationship with Levy, which is hard to achieve, judging on most of the manager's experience that we've had. And you just want someone again who's going to actually come back and put their arm around you and go, it's okay, like we can make things better, like together we're going to make things better, not just this constant, well, what did you expect? You're not AC Milan, are you?
It does seem to be that we're caught between this kind of place of, because I'm assuming that the club they still want that big sort of naming rights sponsor. They want to strike these big commercial deals, and those kind of top blue chip companies, they want the best teams, right? They want the teams that are in the Champions League. They want the teams that have those kind of the Jose Mourinho's, the Antonio Conte's, that kind of thing. And it just seems to be that, like, in my mind now, I've gotten to this point where it's like, we just want to put up like a facade. It's almost like Tottenham is like a film set of a big club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's all
I know
like
exactly what you mean.
It's all just like a facade. Like it's suddenly like you take one step back and it's just all a load of wooden beams supporting a flat structure. Do you know what I mean? But from the outside, it looks like a big grand mansion. And we're just in this place where we're just pretending. It just feels that way because there's no serious kind of commitment to actually concentrating on the football. nothing is a football first decision. It just doesn't seem to be that way anymore. That we are, it always just feels like it's secondary. We're having this terrible season, and I don't. People say, "Oh, objectively, it's all right." No, bollocks, it is. Like other teams have just been terrible.
Yeah, we're not fourth on merit. Let's be honest. I know technically you are if it's a league, but it was the same last season. We didn't. It was a great achievement to finish fourth. We did have a good run of form, but equally, it took teams around us to fuck up to get into that position. If they'd done what they needed to do, it wouldn't have mattered what we'd done.
I just, it's hard to find look, if we're sort of saying this, it's obviously bleeding down to the players. You're seeing, Richarlison saying what he's said. Do you? Is he right to speak out like that? Or do you think if we kind of separate our feelings in this way, do we still sort of feel that, a player shouldn't be speaking that way publicly anyway?
I don't know, I think it's fair enough at this point. I think I remember being a bit pissed off with Danny Rose when he did it. I think it was almost the manner that he did it in. I think it was the kind of going to the sun, bit sneaky. Actually, it wasn't all shit around the club at the time. It felt like he was kind of poking at something that I don't know. And I still really like Danny Rose. I have a lot of respect for him. He was one of my favourite players for a long time, and I actually think it's quite refreshing that he speaks his mind. I don't think that was the best decision at the time, and I think it came from a place with him of wanting better for the club. It was like frustration where he could see something and felt like no one else was seeing it, and I could identify with that. And I think, with Richarlison, after the game, he's emotional, he's pissed off. But at this point, I think, we've all seen it for years. We've all got into this place of frustration. We can all see what's happening, and it's like the club's just going la 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 la. That's all fine. We'll just wait till the end of the season and see what Antonio wants to do. And it doesn't matter really. And I think he's just got frustrated with that, and it might be again me being too emotional about it myself, and it's because I agree with him that I don't mind, but I don't really see an issue with it. I think actually nowadays footballers are media trained within an inch of their lives. I don't even know why they bother doing the post-match interviews most of the time, because you already know what they're going to say. It's like they literally say nothing. I'd rather hear someone who's got something to say.
I also think when you kind of consider the fact, and I don't like that he's done it, so there's a level of hypocrisy because to what I'm going to say, but you can see why Richarlison might say something, because the manager who he's addressing is constantly coming out and basically just saying the club's shit and all the players are shit.
Exactly.
And he can't achieve anything with these players, so why would he?
Exactly. He's only taking his lead from the leader, isn't he? If he thinks it's okay to go out and speak like that in press conferences, well, someone like Richarlison's going to feel like, well, I want to have my say. Like, why do you get to go out and basically throw shade at me every week, and I'm just supposed to sit here and take it when I feel like I haven't been given a fair shot? And I think if it was certain other players that said it, it would be different. But I do feel with Richarlison that he hasn't been given a fair shot. He hasn't had a decent run of games. He hasn't been allowed to play in his best position, and there is that pressure being put on him every time he plays. He probably feels like, oh God, I've got to be like amazing today, or I'm going to get dropped next time. And a player like Richarlison, I think, has done enough in his career to warrant more trust than that. I don't feel like he has to prove himself to us. He's already proven that he's a really good striker. Just give him a shot. There are games where we could rest Kane, or play Kane in that sort of more central midfield role then. If we haven't got Bentancur, who can do that creative piece, you've got a ready-made, number 9 in Richarlison. Play him up front, try dropping Kane back. He drops deep a lot of the time anyway. So, why not try some of the things we've got at our disposal? It's like, well, our husband was saying the other night, we've got Brazil's number 9 and England's number 10, and we don't play them in those positions. But I mean, I'm not advocating turning Harry Kane into a midfielder, by the way. It's only because we're in the situation we're in with Bentancur, and like we see, Kane ends up dropping deep so much of the time to make up for that anyway. But I don't know. But I can't really, you know, there's so many people to be pissed off at this point, you know. I haven't got any left to be pissed off with Richarlison. I just kind of want to give him a hug.
Were you annoyed with Romero? Are you annoyed with him? Are you annoyed with this stuff? Because, you know, we sort of touched on it, but does it, because it's really pissed off a lot of people. I mean, it has split opinion, as, you know, most things do now, but...
Yeah, I mean... It's, there's a bit of that where you think, come on, Christian, now. Like, you should have learnt this by now. But it is that, you know, there are certain players that do have that fire about them and always will have. It was like Dele Alli, you know, and Poch always said with Ali, he said, I don't want to take that fire out of him because that's what makes him who he is. I think if you've got a player like Romero, there's always that risk that something like that is going to happen. But then that's also where, surely that's where a coach has got to come in. And that's where, you know, not to keep bringing Danny Rose into it, but there was the clip going around on Twitter this week of him kind of talking about Pochettino and how when he was manager, you know, he would pull him into the office and show him all these clips of things he'd done wrong in the game. And I think he was talking about one particular game where he was like, yeah, I think I did pretty well. And then Poch was like, well, here's all the stuff you did wrong, and pulled out like 20 clips of... But we saw what that did to Danny Rose. I mean, what a transformation in him from who the player he was when Poch joined to peak Danny Rose. I mean, he was incredible, and that was Pochettino's coaching. What's Conte doing to do the same with Romero? Is Conte bringing Romero into the office and going, look, Christian, this was stupid. Like, why did you do this? Actually, this wasn't an ideal time to get a yellow card. I don't see any evidence that any of that is happening. But again, I'm not, you know, on the inside of the club, so I don't know. But it's that I'm not seeing any of our players improve under Conte. I'm just seeing people go backwards. I think the only player you can really look at and say has improved under Conte is Emerson Royal, and I don't actually think you can credit Conte for that, because Royal spent £1 million of his own money going and getting. I mean, that if that tells you anything, is that we've got a coach who's being paid £15 million a year, and we've got one of our players spending £1 million of his own money to go and get training elsewhere. What does that tell you?
The funny thing is, like, he seems to have just landed on Emerson, because, like you say, you can't really give him the credit for it, because it feels like he's just landed on Emerson Royale, because Doherty didn't really work out, and Pedro Porro obviously needs a bit of time to adapt. So he's kind of used Royale, but I mean, I thought Royale was horrible again the other night, to be honest.
No, he wasn't great.
Which, you know, I don't know if that's just, you know, if he was just in a rich vein of form because Porro came in and he felt threatened, but I mean, hopefully not, you know. It's, I don't know, man. Again, like, these questions get raised, right? They come out as a sort of natural course of this conversation, and at the end of it, you are just left thinking, like, no idea. You know, what do we say to this? It's frustrating, and it feels like there's just going to be more and more and more of the same until really the ownership changes now. And like you know, anybody that listens to this pod will know I've always been pretty on the fence with Levy. I credit him for a lot of stuff, a lot of the reason why Spurs are kind of in the position that they are now. But it just feels like now, like as I was saying sort of a minute ago, the priority is just not football anymore, which it just seems totally bonkers that's where we're a football club, you know?
Exactly.
But imagine, you know, as much as we sort of take the piss out of them, we call Arsenal Club Shop FC and all that, all the fans dressed up and always, their entire focus is to football, you know?
Yeah.
Their entire focus is to football. Us now, it's kind of like, and I'm careful to sort of moan too much about this, but, you know, it's funny. It seems to be that we're even kind of running away with ourselves in the off-pitch stuff. Like, you know, booking too many Beyonce concerts so that we're now going to have some, I don't know, final... whatever, I get that it's probably the papers wanting to run with this lol, Tottenham have bottled the Beyonce concert kind of thing, when it's a minor admin issue that can just be appeased either with kind of, a few meetings and handshakes or a brown paper envelope. Do you know what I mean? Like it's I'm sure this type of stuff happens a lot more than we're aware of, I'm sure every now and again the people that run Wembley Stadium as a commercial space are probably like, oh shit, actually, yeah, we're going to get a slap on the wrist from the council for that. What I mean is, like, when you kind of, when you work in these kind of like admin, civic authority type things, I never have myself, but I know friends who have, and they're just kind of like, it's no biggie. This sort of shit happens all the time. Slap on the wrist, people sign some papers, and that's probably what it is. But still, do you know what I mean? It just feels like we're getting so excited with this stuff, with the concerts, with the F1, with, I mean, the NFL was always going to be a part of it, so whatever. But even just this sort of the idea that we're going to actually maybe have a Tottenham franchise in the NFL, as was spoken about. And I get it. Like, people say, well, that's a continental sort of model. Barcelona have basketball teams. They have...
Barcelona were a good team before that, weren't they?
And it's... And maybe they've always had those teams as well. We haven't. We can't start looking at building this empire of, like, sporting portfolio, an F1 team or some... I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is actually going on here? Arsenal are about to win the fucking league.
Yeah.
Like...
Get the football team right before you start trying to run a bloody basketball team, or... it's just soul destroying. And I think, our patience with Levy has come from, we knew we needed the stadium. Like, that's always been a thing ever since day one with Levy. We knew that was coming. We knew that was going to be a focus. And even when we had that horrible, crappy time where we went 18 months without signings, someone made the point the other day, there was probably something around, having to have a certain amount of cash to secure loans and things like that. It's a bit crap, but actually we needed that stadium. But that's a one-time thing. And we all kind of knew that was coming. We knew there would be a bit of pain around that. But the whole thing was like, once the stadium is there, then we can concentrate on the football. And it's not. Now it's another thing and another thing and another thing. And it's like that thing where they say people who are like promoted into a level of incompetence or whatever, they're promoted to the, further than they're actually competent at. Instead of focusing on the thing they should be focusing on, they busy themselves with like other things that really they shouldn't be doing in their job. Like, they'll go and do some like admin thing that really, you're supposed to be doing the strategy. It almost feels like that with Levy. It's like he doesn't know what he's doing on the football side. So I'll just go and do some F1. I'll go book some concerts.
We need some more tea bags for the kitchen. Actually, I'll get on that. Eh?
Yeah.
Well, mate, we got a big presentation tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? It's I know exactly what you mean. Like, it's really.
I don't know. It's like any excuse not to actually look at the actual thing you're here for, which is the football team.
But this is the thing, right? Because, and I think this is what kind of creates a lot of this, this oh dear shrug kind of feeling that we have, this sort of hapless kind of ability to find an actual reason for it, because we know what the reason is. We know that a lot of the reason is, anyway, that we have Daniel Levy and ENIC in charge. Their priority is not the football at all anymore. It just isn't.
No, that is very clear now.
We can, people can shout and scream and argue, and people, I get pelters all the time. If I say something about Conte, or if I, whatever, it'll be this idiot, typical podcaster doesn't know that the real reason is, Daniel Levy and ENIC in charge. It's kind of like, but they own the club, mate. They aren't. You can't just do some tweets about it. They ain't going anywhere. They're not going to sell it. It's quite clear. Like, I don't think anybody is going to offer us what the club is worth, really. The stadium itself is worth £1 billion. The link with the NFL probably adds a 500 mil to the equation. And so, the match day, what is it? It's like £1 million a match day we make on beer, and so on and so on and so on and so on.
No one beyond a kind of Saudi prince or something is going to be able to afford that.
The club is just worth billions and billions and billions of pounds. And also, I just don't see I just, I get it that ENIC was like, it's an investment company, and that's kind of, their role is to do that, is to kind of, like those people that kind of do up houses. They buy a house that's, dilapidated, they do it up and they sell it for twice the price. That's kind of what
flipping a football club. But
exactly.
That's
what they were supposed to do. But now they're just kind of like, well, actually, maybe we don't need to because there's all this other stuff going on, and it does leave you thinking like, well, okay, well, if those are the constraints that we've been dealt, right, then just don't be so stupid in employing these type of, and that's the thing.
Exactly.
It's hubris or it's stupidity. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
bringing in these Mourinhos and straight away saying to them like, oh well, you're not going to have 500 mil to spend, which is fair enough. We don't have those Man City or Newcastle resources. That's fine. But then look at where we have been successful. Look at Martin Jol. Look at Mauricio Pochettino. The way these type of managers have made us believe and better ourselves. Just stop with this merry-go-round. Because look, let's talk about it now, because it is the elephant in the room, mate. Like, Antonio Conte, in my opinion, he should have gone in January, but he's got to go. He has to go now.
Yeah, he could just get in the bin. I'd rather have Ryan Mason for the rest of the season, to be honest, because having Conte around, he's like a dementor, just sucking the life out of our club. It feels like there doesn't seem to be any positivity there from him. It's all negative. It's all moaning. It's all how crap we are and what we can't do and what we, it can't be helping, and it can't get worse, can it? Like, well, it can always get worse, but we've been playing utter shite football. So I don't see how even having a caretaker for the rest of the season could be any worse. And I just really want him gone at this point. I've just had it with him. Like, it's been too long listening to his crap, watching his rubbish football, listening to him tell us how lucky we are to have him in veiled language.
A geezer that hasn't won a Champions League knockout game in about a decade is telling us about the history of our club. We're in a Champions League final in 2019, mate. Do you know what I mean?
How many have you been in?
Like, and we just have to sort of suck up this kind of like this self-preservation of his, and it just adds to the kind of meme banter bank against Tottenham. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just nonsense. But
it's taking the piss. It feels like he's taking the piss out of us. We are literally paying someone £15 million a year, £15 million that we could be spending on wages for decent players, to have someone who literally just is going to sitting here and taking the piss out of us.
I mean, you say Mason, but to me, it's get Dad home. Get Poch home now.
Just absolutely.
He's sat
there.
His grill's there. It's ready. The heat is on. The Malbec is open. It's breathing. Get him in, man.
I mean, that's what I want, Jack. That's 100%. That's why the Mason thing was more around the fact that it seems like the club is determined not to make a decision to the end of the season, and if that's the case, well then I'd rather have no one than Conte at this point.
Agreed.
But yeah, absolutely for me, and it might be my heart talking over my head. It probably is. There's a lot of people that I know who've got reservations about Poch coming back, but at the end of the day, we've just had 4 years of shit. 4 years of people talking us down, not respecting the club. We just want a bit of love back.
In the Premier League era, we've never been anywhere and even when we've had good times with Redknapp, good times with Jol, we've never been anywhere close to being as good as we were under him.
No.
I can't take this sort of willful, but we failed under him. No, we didn't.
No, we got to a Champions League final. I never thought I would sit. I used to sit and watch the Champions League final and think, God, I wonder what it must be like to see your team there. Like, I'll never see that. And then, in 2019, I'm literally there in Madrid, like watching my team in a Champions League final. Obviously, we then concede a penalty after 20 seconds. That's Tottenham, but. Just to be there was absolutely incredible. I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. And people can go on about as much as they want. Oh, what a trophy! Getting a... Well, we've been in the same number of Champions League finals as Arsenal, and got the same number of Champions Leagues. How many clubs in the whole of Europe can say they've ever got to that game? That is, that is the pinnacle of football. And yes, it didn't work out for us, but good God, if someone had told you in 2005 Tottenham Hotspur would be in a Champions League final.
I wouldn't. I literally wouldn't have believed. I'd
No.
just be like, no.
No, I mean, I used to be buzzing when we finished 7th.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh, that's the highest we've ever finished since I've supported them. So, someone had told me we'd be challenging for the league. And
hoping to get into Europe via the Fair Play League,
Yeah, exactly. All who's got the most yellow cards this season. It's just, I know we didn't win anything. And I do think some of that is down more to luck than anything else. I think, a lot of the time that team, 9 out of 10 seasons, probably would have won something, would have got over the line. And it's just, unfortunately, I feel like with Poch, it came at like the best time and the worst time, because the fact that we had him and suddenly we were overachieving and he was doing way more than we expected, earlier than he expected, but it coincided exactly with that key crunch point with the stadium where we didn't have the money to spend. And I don't know if they would have. It kind of got that excuse to hide behind. So I don't know if they still wouldn't have invested if that wasn't the case. But it feels like, it is just unfortunate that actually that run came at a time where we then had to move out of our stadium. That kind of broke our flow. We then couldn't invest in the squad for a while, and obviously we're still seeing the result of that. But Poch, it's not like Poch was sitting there going, yeah, it's fine. I'm happy with this team. Like, he was saying, we need to rebuild. And he didn't get the chance to do it.
I mean, the other thing is when you look at that game the other night, right? You look at the last 10 minutes, just the whole game. Let's be honest, the whole 2 legs against AC Milan. There's never any belief there, and
no.
People can sort of say, I saw this as a good back forth. I can't remember who it was between, but on Twitter, it was basically being said that Pochettino didn't win anything for all the good times, whatever. And the response back to that was, yeah, but he created they were basically saying Ajax was it was more down to a Lucas Moura freak hat trick. It wasn't anything that, Pochettino did. It's like,
but how did we get there in the first place?
Precisely, and he still bred a mentality within the team that was to fight to the very end of every game. That's always his messaging, We will fight, we will work hard, we'll suffer on the pitch, but then we'll enjoy, the kind of the rewards of that. I just think, the whole place, be it from the fans, the players, everywhere, it just feels flat. It feels so. I mean, I'm not going to project. I will say how I feel. I'm not going to project for anybody else, even though I have anecdotally plenty of sort of corroborative evidence on this type of thing. But it feels like Sherwood levels of just disconnected from the club.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now I just nobody's excited about games. Nobody one of my mates said to me the other day, when we win a game now, you're not elated, you just feel relieved, and then you feel angry when we lose. That's it. So it's anger or relief, and that's it. It's not fun.
There's
We're
no
not
joy,
enjoying
is
this.
there?
And I just feel that people can say all they want about don't go back, you can't bring the same manager back again. But Juventus have done it with Allegri, Zidane at Madrid. I think we've had Van Gaal at Barcelona's gone back, Mourinho at Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of examples of David Moyes at West Ham. There's
Dalglish at Liverpool.
Yeah, there's plenty of examles of managers going back to clubs, and it just not really
and Poch
being
wasn't
that big
finished.
of a deal. No,
Poch wasn't finished. He said it himself. He said we didn't finish that project. He's still got that connection with the club, and I just think personally, the Poch card is the only card that Daniel Levy has left to play. He's been gifted basically a wild card there that he shouldn't bloody have, but he does have it, and that's that is the only thing I think he can do now to appease the fans. I don't think anyone else really is going to do it, and at the end of the day, Daniel, it's your last chance no matter what, because you either get Poch back in and it works, and well done, you've bought yourself some time, or it doesn't, and you are going to feel the wrath. But whoever you bring in, if it doesn't work out, you're going to feel the wrath. Like, people are done with you now. It's just like, you know, you've built the stadium. Your kid can get his Maltesers at half time now. So can you just get it right, or please just go?
It feels like it's really getting to that point, doesn't it? Because
yeah, he's run out of chances.
We're just at that crossroads now, because you're already seeing, like the Athletic was saying yesterday, that certain people within the club, and speculation suggests it's Paratici and Donna Cullen, are not keen on the idea of Pochettino coming back. Luis Enrique is heading up a short list. And I just think, okay, he won the treble at Barcelona when he had MSN. Do you know what I mean? He literally had MSN era Barcelona. You saw his Spain team in this World Cup. Boring, pedestrian, dated, tiki-taka football. Have you seen, like, this? And this is what makes me question the people that make the decisions at this club.
Yeah.
If Luis Enrique is really at the top of the list for Tottenham Hotspur, a man who needs not only a creative, like, fulcrum in the centre of his midfield for it to work, for it to be good, he also needs a squad full of players that can pass and receive the ball very nicely and crisply. We've got about 3 or 4 players in this bloody squad that can play a nice crisp pass here and there.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst things about this team. Like, just surely you have to look at the pieces we have available to us. You look at players, we spoke about them, like Basuma. We look at somebody like Richarlison. We look at a Romero. We look at Porro. We look at Destiny Adoji who's coming in. Or even Ryan Sessegnon, who knows, you know. There's so many players there where you think, if Pochettino got his hands on those players, you just know there could be something there. And I just, like you say, I think all goodwill has been exhausted now. I don't see, I could even see it, like, the thing is now, we could even unveil bloody Pep Guardiola. He could make this shock decision to leave Manchester City and come back to Tottenham. And I'd still feel like, it's not going to work out, is it?
He'll just get found out, wouldn't it? You know what? As much as I'd love to see Pep Guardiola get found out, I'm really sick of us being the experiment of showing up all these managers that can't do it without the checkbook.
Yeah.
And it's just the point of, and to your point, you know, if Donna Cullen and Paratici don't want Pochettino, well, I don't want Donna Cullen and bloody Paratici. It's not your football club. I know that you're employed by the football club, but why are you making that decision when it isn't the right one for the club? It's not the right one for the fans. It's just, I think we're just sick of, at this point, of having these kind of old corporate figures that have been there years and years and years, just making the same old decisions. And I mean, again, I've probably gone far too emotional here, and I've probably lost all sense of reason, but I just want Poch back at this point. I just think, you know, give us something back, Daniel. We have sat through all this shit for the past few years. We've gone through the stadium upgrade. We're paying the highest season ticket prices in the entire league, with 0 cup games included, which is absolutely atrocious, to watch the worst football in the league. Can you just give us something?
How's this for getting overly emotional, Lara? Like, have you seen that AI? Beg your pardon. Have you seen that AI bot, Chat GPT?
Yes.
Where you can get it to. So I've been playing around with that, and I just like the wet wipe that I am. I just asked it to write Maurizio Pochettino's first press conference upon his return to Tottenham Hotspur as manager. And this is, I mean, a lot of people, copywriters, man, everyone. I mean, I'm a video editor, and I've already seen like how AI is being used to edit videos. So it's not just copywriters; everyone is in trouble with AI, right?
Yeah, but it's nuts.
It is mad. But this is what ChatGPT spat out when I asked it to write Maurizio Pochettino's first press conference upon his return to Tottenham Hotspur. Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I want to say how delighted and honoured I am to be back at Tottenham Hotspur. This is a club that holds a special place in my heart, and I am thrilled to have the opportunity to return as manager. I want to thank the chairman, the board, and the supporters for their faith in me. I know that the expectations are high, and I am here to deliver success. I am excited to work with the talented players that we have in the squad, and I believe that we can achieve great things together. My focus now is on getting to work and preparing for our next game. We have a strong squad, and I'm confident that we can compete at the highest level. We will play with passion and determination, and we will always give our all for this club. I want to assure the fans that we will be working hard every day to improve and achieve our goals. We know that we have a lot of work to do, but we are up for the challenge. We will work together as a team, and we will make this club proud. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to the journey ahead. Come on, you Spurs. And I'm just like, fucking, I know it's a robot, and it's been fed all this from all over the internet, but just, I want to see it. Come on.
Yeah.
You know?
Bring him home, Daniel. If you do nothing else, bring him home. And then bugger off.